Let me ask you this, if you don't mind. I make you, Luke Roman, Emperor of America tomorrow. What would you do? Would you just let the natural forces of deflation run their way? And yes, it would be mega painful, and all the bad debts, would default, and we'd have a couple really bad years. But then the dust would settle, the sun would still shine, and we could come back out and kind of rebuild things from a smarter baseline. That's one thing, one option. The other is something else. What would you do?
I think it would probably have to be like something done, I guess, back in ancient Greece times or whatever, where they burned all the debtor sticks or whatever, right?
So like a true jubilee,
A
like
true
just
jubilee, blow it up.
yeah.
I think that's the only politically palatable option at this time. I would probably do that combined with a massive domestic fiscal stimulus package that basically reintroduced industrial policy a la the Cold War back to the US. So we're going to do debt forgiveness for all student loans, boom. But you attach a condition to it. You cannot file for unemployment for the next 5 years if you agree to the forgiveness, right? And then on the other hand, and then other I don't know, other unsecured debt, treasuries, et cetera. I mean, mortgages, I think you can't give up. Secured debt remains there. So it's the unsecured stuff, student loans, mortgages,
Credit card debts.
credit card. I probably implement yield curve control immediately that would allow everyone to refinance right away, right? So boom, the Fed's going to buy the entire bond market basically at whatever, 2, and short rates are 0, short rates are a quarter, whatever. So there's a little spread there the banks can make. And on the other hand, I turn around and I reintroduce industrial policy. I'm going to run a $5 trillion deficit this year, financed by the Fed, and I'm going to do that for the next 5 years. And I am going to I'm not going to spend 50 billion on semiconductor infrastructure. I'm going to spend, and maybe 5 trillion is not the right number, but I'm just being sort of hyperbolic, but whatever. I'm going to spend $1 trillion on semiconductor infrastructure.
Yeah.
Forget it. This whole Taiwan thing is insane. We're bringing it all back, all of it now. We're bringing everything back, and we're going to run the deficits to do it. And the Fed's going to finance all of it. They're going to print the money. Inflation's going to be 50% per year for the next 5 years. Unemployment is going to 0. Wages are going to go up 60% a year for the next 5 years. You're going to get a rebalance of working class versus whatever. You're going to get a definancialization, a rebalancing. Bondholders get absolutely waylaid. You had 40 years. You know what? Your turn in this banking machine. And then at the end of that period of time, we have a rebuilt. The infrastructure of this country is, inexcusable for the richest country in the world, right? There's so much low-hanging fruit. Some sort of package like that where you could, labor rates are going to go through the roof, but that's the only way you're going to get labor. I always hear this discussion, we can't reindustrialize because the labor's not there. Pay them. It's like Charlie Munger says, you show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome. You pay guys that, are laying asphalt 200 grand a year. I guarantee you there'll be plenty of people to do it. There will be no labor shortages if you're paying labor enough money to make a living. They can't right now. And so you're short labor. There's a bid-ask spread. And the solution is not what the Fed's trying to do now, which is, let's just crash the economy. That's, to your earlier point, austerity is how you get revolutions. You get political change with inflation if you manage it right. You go to austerity, you get revolutions. So it's not the right move. So that's what if I was emperor, huge industrial policy financed by deficits and Fed yield curve control, combined with a policy of student loan forgiveness if you say, I'm not going to file for unemployment for the next 5 or 10 years. And if I do, the loans get put back on me or something like that. So they can't just offload the loan and then sort of, not work in the productive economy. So extreme, yes. Would it work? Yeah. Would it be inflationary? Yes. Would bondholders like it? No. Do I care?
But we would end up with a much less financialized system that was much more based on productivity and our vulnerability to, these 1,000-mile supply chains and actors that we don't necessarily know how much we can trust, is way less than it is
It
today.
checks, yeah, definancializes, it shrinks the wealth gap, it increases productivity, it increases domestic and national security. It just checks a whole lot of boxes.
Decreases the, as you said, I think the wealth gap, right? And then the bondholders, get right-sized here in this model.